Okay, good morning and welcome to the next uh, session on image processing. Uh, we have actually completed three units. The first unit on image fundamentals, followed by uh, image enhancement, which we did both in frequency domain and spatial domain. And the third module was on image restoration. Um, like now we are trying to understand more about an image, not in terms of improving it for visual quality. In fact, the first three chapters were basically concentrating on how we can improve the quality of an image for a better visualization. For example, we tried enhancing or doing performing histogram equalization, histogram specification, and we saw that the image output image was better when compared to the input image. And when it comes to restoration, what we did is we tried restoring the original quality of the image by just performing some restoration in terms of maybe some filtering. Now once these types of pre-processing steps are done, for example restoration, enhancement, they are all pre-processing steps. See, for example, if your job is to maybe identify the license plate region of a vehicle or identify the vehicle number based on some object recognition. Now, the image that you have captured probably may be captured at a dim light. So you may have to perform some pre-processing step to improve the contrast. So I may have to do some enhancement. Then the vehicle may be moving, therefore I may have to just take care of the blur that happens in the image, or the blur that is going to corrupt the image. So I need to do a restoration so that the blur can be removed and I can get a de-blurred clean image. So enhancement, restoration usually are the pre-processing steps that we perform. Once I do this, next is I should start understanding more about the image. So what I meant by understanding is you may be interested in only a vehicle detection or the license plate region detection or some character recognition. So you need to now concentrate more on trying to get only that region of interest that is important for you and perform the further operations. So this particular unit is basically trying to explain how we perform image segmentation. Okay, so let me just share my screen. Is the screen visible? This is the syllabus. Is it
Yes,
visible?
sir.
Okay. So we are into unit 4, which is image segmentation. Of course, we discussed some fundamentals about what do we mean by image segmentation here, and what are the different methods of segmentation. Then how we can detect an isolated point. We can detect a line in an image. We can detect the edges in the image, and we perform some thresholding operation, and then how we can use region based segmentation here. So this particular unit basically concentrates on taking input as an image and giving you some attributes. So let us just try to discuss this in detail in the next uh, few minutes. Okay, so is the OneNote visible?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so uh, basically this unit is completely on image segmentation. That means how we can convert a given image into different segments based on our interest, based on our region of interest. So, as I said, there are some fundamentals to be discussed in terms of what do we mean by image segmentation and what are the different methods of doing it, how we can detect point, line, edges, and how we can use thresholding to probably convert an image into different, maybe something like the foreground and the background. And there is a method called a region-based segmentation. We will discuss in detail about this. So at the end of this particular unit, you should be in a position to apply various image segmentation techniques to partition an image into regions or objects. Okay. Yeah. So let us just try to understand uh, the basics. As I told in the earlier in fact discussion, whatever we have done in the previous 2-3 modules or units is we discussed image processing methods whose inputs and outputs are images. For example, if you take image histogram equalization, input is a probably a low contrast image. Once I perform histogram equalization, the corresponding output will be histogram equalized image, which will be probably a high contrast image. So input is an image, output is also an image. Even in the case of Wiener filter that we discussed in the previous unit, input is a blurred image and the corresponding output after applying a Wiener filter is a degraded, sorry, a restored image. So input is an image and output is image. I hope you remember the block diagram that I showed you in the first unit. Maybe I think we can have a look at it again. This is a block diagram. I hope all of you remember this block diagram. Uh, so this is the fundamental steps that we discussed. So as you saw, image enhancement, image restoration, uh, in all these things, output of these processes are images. Okay. Whereas when it comes to segmentation, morphological processing, representation, object detection, the output here is normally attributes. Okay. That means you don't get the output as image, you get it as the attributes of the image. That's something like foreground and background, something like edges, something like the objects are detected, okay, with some representation on that object, okay. Compression also, our input is a maybe a high quality image and output will be a compressed image, okay. So this is what we are actually trying to understand in this particular chart, unit. So in segmentation, inputs are images no doubt, but the outputs are attributes. For example, look at this image. Now, if you are interested in uh, maybe segmenting all that you have movement in the image. For example, the background, the building, the trees, and this display board, they are all still. Nothing is moving in this case. Whereas these two, they are actually walking. There is a dog here, and there is a person who is walking. Somebody who is moving here. So uh, if I want to apply an algorithm which detects the moving objects in this particular image, what I am interested in only in recognizing those moving objects. So the right side image is actually where you have actually converted this image into some objects which are recognized. Okay, so you have uh, these two moving, that is why it is detected here. This dog is moving, that's why it is detected here, and this person is moving. So I'll detect the in fact the motion in the image and try to just extract that. So here whatever your interest in this particular image is detecting the objects that are moving. So I have shown that as one particular okay color, and even here you can observe, I think there is somebody who is sitting here, and probably there is some motion. So that is also being detected here. And this is an animal, so probably to separate it into human beings and animal, different color is given here. So this is the objective of image segmentation. How I can convert the point of interest, that is in this case the moving objects, and I call this whatever I have detected as the foreground, and whatever that is still, it is shown as black here, it is the background. So you are now separating an image into what is known as the foreground, which is of a region of interest to you, and a background which is not of interest to you. For example, if somebody wants to, I think some students are working on face recognition from a moving, okay, from a video. In such case, you have to first detect that there is a face in the region, and then you have to probably recognize the face. So in that case, you need to segment the face region first. So these are some applications of segmentation. Okay, is the point clear? What is the difference between whatever we have done in the previous 3 units and the present unit? How do we differentiate this from the previous units? Any doubt? Be quick.
No, sir.
Okay. Yeah. So straightforward, not much. So let us just try to discuss something more on this. So as we said, segmentation actually is going to subdivide an image into its constituent regions or objects. That's what it has done here. So in fact, if you carefully observe here, I think all human beings are given with some color, and this animal is given other color. So you are just dividing it into its constituent regions or objects. Okay. Now the level of these details to which the subdivision is carried out, that depends on the problem. That means whatever problem you are trying to solve will decide to what level I should do this subdivision. Okay. Let us take some typical examples. Suppose I am just interested, you assume that you are being selected as an expert who would detect or count the vehicles in a road. Okay. So your job is just to count the vehicles. That means how many vehicles at any point of time, at any junction point, have crossed that point. So I just want to detect and count the vehicles. Nothing more I am requiring. Okay. So let me just show you some images here. For example, in this case, so as you can see, a bounding box is put. This is downloaded from internet. A bounding box is put on all the cars. Okay, irrespective of the size of the car, because this car, because it is away from the camera, it is with lesser okay size. We are able to detect it, and we are able to put a bounding box. Okay, irrespective of whether the car is approaching you or the car is going away from you, you should be still in a position to in fact recognize it. So the challenges here is like you cannot expect the car always to be moving towards you. You can expect the car to be moving away from you unless and until it is a one way. Then second challenge here is you cannot also expect that the vehicle is with the same scale. You can observe this is at one scale, this is at a different scale. So if suppose if you have another vehicle coming here, then it would be definitely of different scale. So irrespective of the scale factor, irrespective of the okay direction of the vehicle movement, I should I should still be detecting it. That is the challenge that you have in segmentation. But the idea here is I just detect and count them. For example, if I want to detect and say how many cars are there, then in this case there are 4 cars that I have seen. So I need to keep counting them, and then probably that would be the result that you want. So it's a simple case. Assume that you are not just asked to count the cars. Assume that you want to count the vehicles. You want to count how many public vehicles have moved in that road and how many private vehicles are moving in that road. What is the difference? All of you know the color of the license plate will be the difference. Okay. Normally, this is the standard that we use in India. Uh, uh, Black letters printed with a yellow background. That would be for maybe a hired vehicle. Um, Black letter on a plain white background. Usually, that is a personal vehicle. Okay, owned by a specific person. So, if you want to okay, in fact classify how many personal owned vehicles have moved and how many okay hired vehicles have moved, I cannot just detect the vehicle. I have to actually also locate the license plate region, and using this color background that I told you, so just see whether the background is yellow or the background is white. If the background is yellow, then you decide that it is a hired vehicle. If the background is white, then you decide that it is a personal owned vehicle. So the complexity is slightly increased here. Here the complexity is just to identify the vehicle and count, whereas here in the next case the complexity is not only that you should detect that there is a vehicle, you should localize to the license plate region. That means I should see the license plate region, then probably separate the vehicles depending on the color background. Now a third image, okay, yeah, so you can observe. Uh, can somebody tell me what is this image trying to do? In fact, it is self-explanatory, but I just want to hear from you. What is this okay image trying to do?
Identifying different types of vehicle on
Correct.
the road.
Correct. See, it is not only just identifying whether it is uh, private or maybe a hired vehicle, but it is also trying to say whether it is a bike, a motorbike, or whether it is a truck, or whether it is a car. And then if it is a car, then after identifying whether it is private or so, you could see that the complexity has increased. So it's not enough you just detect a moving vehicle. You should also, maybe based on the size of the vehicle, you should also say whether it, see, you can use different features to train your system, but I need to, for example, I can directly say this is a bus or a truck, sorry. So I can directly say this is a truck. So a bus will have a different view, a car will have a different view, a two-wheeler will have a different view. So the complexity is how do you detect whether it is a truck or a car or a two-wheeler. So complexity has increased. Okay. The next challenge is after detecting the vehicle, after locating the license point, I may not be just interested in knowing whether it is a private vehicle or a hired vehicle or whatever it is, or a public vehicle. I may also be interested in knowing whose vehicle is that. That means the next challenge is identifying the license plate region, then identifying the in fact license plate number. So there is a challenge to do character recognition here. So I hope you can imagine, depending on the problem, the complexity changes. Okay, say for example, in this case, with some percentage of accuracy, they have determined a car. See the challenge. This car is going in this direction, whereas this car is going in this direction. Okay, there is a two-wheeler here, and this two-wheeler is actually occluding this car also. There is another two-wheeler which is not having any occlusion there, but in this case the two-wheeler and the car, both the images are seen. So how do I separate this as a car and how do I separate this as a two-wheeler? And in this case you can see that you are not seeing the complete portion of the car, you are only seeing partial portion of the car. In this case you are just seeing the back uh, portion of the vehicle car. Okay, in this case the angle is different, in this case the angle is different. So depending on the type of data set that is given to you, depending on the expectation from the probably the user, you should divide your problem into in fact various categories. That is why they say level of details to which the subdivision is carried depends on the problem. In just finding a vehicle, you have to just locate that there is a vehicle moving, then count it. In classifying the vehicle maybe as private or public, so you may have to just see the okay, license plate region and take a decision. In recognizing the license plate to identify the vehicle, then you may have to also do what is known as character segmentation. And in all these cases, all of we have already understood that the segmentation accuracy determines the success or failure of computerized analysis. So, for example, in these images, to what accuracy I can segment. For example, here you can see that it is not so easy to locate the license plate. So you may have to do some improvement in the resolution of this image. I hope you remember in the beginning of my class, I just discussed some applications of image processing where I also in fact mentioned about a technique called super resolution, which will increase the resolution of the images. I also demonstrated to you the results, okay, where after super resolving your data will be uh, in fact the image will be looking better. So how good I am in segmenting will actually determine the success or failure of the computerized analysis. So I have to look, for example, assume that you want to detect the license plate region. One of the method I use to detect the license plate region is, license plate region means you will have some writings on the license plate. All of you know. So see, you have these are the. This is a very simple license plate that we see. So you have text here. So one important thing is wherever there is a text, obviously you will have high frequency variation. So I can use this high frequency variation detection in the region, and wherever there is high frequency, I say there is a license plate. But all of you know that apart from the license plate, there would also be some writing on the image. For example, in vehicles, probably the other details like maybe who is the manufacturer, so that would be printed, or there would be some other text that is printed on different parts of the vehicle. So how do you separate that text that is written which is not a part of the license plate? So these are the challenges. Okay, so segmentation accuracy actually determines the success. So if I am very good at segmentation, then I would be detecting it very easily. Of course, these are all very simple examples. If you take satellite images, there are a lot of challenges. So how good I accurately segment will decide whether I am successful in segmentation. So as I mentioned, segmentation algorithms are mainly okay, of two types. One is based on the discontinuity, other is based on the similarity. So let me just again go back to this picture only. Now in this picture, how do I say this is a vehicle? How do I say this is a vehicle? See, of course, we human beings, we have been trained since our birth how to do this segmentation. But you are think of your computer performing this segmentation. Now, if I ask you to locate a vehicle, I am sure all of you will just locate and say this is a vehicle. Okay. So in what way this could be detected by using maybe an algorithm if I want to detect it? What is the procedure? Can anybody respond? How can I say this is a vehicle? How was this bounding box kept here? Anybody? No response. Yeah, somebody is uh, chatting. Let me just see. Machine learning, yeah, of course, correct. Um, that is called machine learning, but how will we do that? Machine has to learn, right? How do I? Uh,
So it's depend upon previous database we have.
yeah, correct. That is also correct. What you said is 100% correct. This, of course, all that is fine. Of course, nowadays uh, things have become very easy. There is, I hope you all of you know, there is what is known as convolution neural networks. What I have to do is I have to just show these images to that network. That means showing in the sense I have to input these images. So it will learn by itself and tells me, okay, based on that. So what I mean here is, if you carefully observe, uh, see if I'm using red color, sorry, some color to just see. So this is your vehicle region, what I have marked now. Okay, I have just detected an edge here, correct? No, do you see this? What I am marking in black color. Are you seeing this or not?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So what I did is I just marked it. So I just marked the edge of the vehicle. Okay. And whatever inside this is my vehicle. Whatever outside is the background, that is the road. Okay. So now I have detected the vehicle by using an edge. This is called edge based segmentation. Okay. So what did I use? I used what is known as the discontinuity, because you know the road and the vehicle, I have separated them. Now there is a challenge here. All of you know that. Suppose if your region of interest and maybe the background, both of them are of same color, then it is very difficult. It is challenging. In this case, in this particular example, suppose if the color of this vehicle is same as the road, which is normally not uh, usually true, but then I cannot use this technique, because you know the edge cannot be detected. If both of them are of same color, I cannot detect it. For example, let me explain a different scenario. You are asked to identify fruits in a uh, okay, in an image. For example, one of the final year project batch students, they are working on uh, okay, automatic fruit plucking robot. In fact, what they have done is they have designed a drone. Because of lockdown, I think the hardware is not complete. They have designed okay, uh, a drone which will fly, which will detect the fruit region, and on the drone there is an arm that is fit, and this arm should stretch to the uh, fruit, and it should pluck the fruit. Okay, I hope the objective is understood. A drone has to automatically fly towards the fruit. It should pluck the fruit, okay, and put it into the okay, bin that is attached, something like this. So what are the challenges here? All of you know what are the challenges. For example, if I am trying to use this drone for plucking maybe pomegranate, all of you know pomegranate is red in color. Even if it is say apple, it is red in color. I want to pluck maybe orange, that would be probably yellow in color. The okay, the right orange. But assume that you want to pluck maybe guava. You know this is also of green color. Now, if I use color segmentation technique, and if I want to use edge-based segmentation, what happens is leaves and also the fruit, both of them are of same color. So it's not so easy to detect. So what I said, what I want to in fact uh, explain here is, even though I can use discontinuity, it fails miserably when your background and the foreground are of same color or are of almost same color. Okay, so discontinuity could be used whenever there is a clear demarcation between the foreground and the background. That is why I have clearly written abrupt changes here. Partitioning images based on abrupt changes in intensity. Okay. For example, assume that I have gray level values. Let us assume that it is a monochrome image. I am not going for color images. Say in some part of the image, if the gray level values are like this, are you able to see whatever I am writing?
Yes.
Okay. So if I have this type of image, assume that I have captured it. I am only showing a part of the image because I cannot show the entire image. Obviously, you can see there is an abrupt change in the gray level value from 12 to 120, 11 to 2. So I can definitely use this edge detection algorithm and say that this is okay, our region of interest, which I have separated from the background. So this the reason because you can see that clearly see that there is a change between the gray level values 14 and 112, 13 and 120, 112. So you can see that there is a drastic or abrupt change in the intensity. So obviously I can say this is my region of interest. So I can use discontinuity based segmentation here, but this cannot be done always. Okay. Now there is also another method of uh, segmentation called similarity. In one case you are looking at discontinuity, in other case you are looking at similarity. What do we mean by similarity? So you start with a seed point. For example, I'll start with this point and I'll try to look at its neighbors. So I look at this neighbor. I hope you are following my writing on the OneNote. So I look at this neighbor, I look at this neighbor, I look at this neighbor, and so on. Suppose if this neighbor and this neighbor are of same color in terms of, remember when we did labeling of connected components, we use this range of V. Assume that I'll give the range of V as 100 to 120. So what I'll do is I'll just label all of them. So I label this 100 as label 1. Since this 100 is a fourth neighbor of 100 and also it is from the same color region, I'll also label this as L1. So probably you will have a label something like this. Yeah, when I start with, I think I'm going back to labeling. This is what we have already done in the previous class. So I'll start with L1 because this is of some color. Then when I go to the next one, it is different from the range. So I'll start with L2. The next one will be L2. I think all of you know why it is L2. The next one will be L3. The next one is L1. Okay, I'm just using 4 connectivity here. The next one here is L2 and this is L2. This is L3. So on and so forth. So this will be L1, L2, L2. So what you have done is you have just labeled them based on the color. So I'm not using any edge information here. I just see what are the neighbors. So I'll start with some particular point and try to see whether these are connected and start growing till all the connectivity is completed. Okay, and then say this is the region of interest. So I use similarity here. That means are they same? Same in what sense? Same in terms of a set of the values. Okay. So if it is a gray shaded image, then you have to give a range here. Suppose if it is a binary image, then V will be either 0 or 1. All of you know. So V will be either 0 or it will be 1. So all ones I'll take it as one segment. All zeros I'll take as other segment. So that is how similarity is used. So you will partition the images into regions which are similar according to a predefined criteria. Predefined criteria in this case is the values of the gray level should be in the range 100 to 120. For example, let us assume that you want to detect the maybe segment probably the uh, cloud region in a satellite image. You want to know, or predict probably the rainfall. So in a satellite image, you want to detect the cloud region. Now, cloud region, the range of values would be somewhere near white. So you may have to give a range something like this, depending on the value. Say all the gray level values which are between 200 to 255. If that lies, that would be your cloud region. So I will do this labeling and use this range, and then based on that similarity, I start segmenting. Okay, so that is what is done in similarity. Okay, so I repeat, there are two ways of doing segmentation. One is by using discontinuity. That means you detect the edges and then put a boundary and then say that is a segmented part, and the edges are detected based on abrupt changes. The second one is you detect the similarity region. That means start with a seed point and try to see the similar gray level values based on some predefined criteria. That is very important. This predefined criteria will be decided based on the problem on hand. If you want to detect vegetation, you may have to use some color predefined range. If you want to detect roads, you have to use some predefined range, and so on. In fact, good examples for this segmentation is the thresholding, which we are going to discuss later. There is a method called region growing, region splitting, and merging, which we will be discussing later. Now, in fact, each one of them have got its own advantage or disadvantage. So normally they apply a combined approach which will give better results. That means you detect edges and then try to fit a boundary. You also use the similarity criteria and try to identify the region and then combine both of them, and that will yield better results. So combined approach yields better results. Okay, so I think the next is some mathematics on this, which we will discuss the next class.